Yes people, welcome back to the channel for a brand new video, where today I'm going to be talking about the resurgence of Jesse Lingard. His return to form in claret and blue has been nothing short of impressive, but is there an underlying reason as to why he's suddenly taken the Premier League by storm? Well, there's definitely a lot to cover in today's video, so before I get into it, make sure if you are new around here, you do click the subscribe button. It'd really mean a lot to me. If you like all things football, you're definitely in the right place. Make sure if you do enjoy today's video, you give me a thumbs up. And also don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. It would be rude not to, and you get notified when I post videos like these. But now that's out of the way, let's talk about Jesse Lingard. Making the switch from the north to the south in the January transfer window this season, Lingard has dazzled so far at his time at the Hammers. But I think it's fair to say that prior to his loan move, he was struggling with game time on the pitch, and also suffering with some personal issues off of it too. Now, Lingard has recently done a couple of interviews with a few media outlets, talking open and honestly really about some of the struggles he's had in terms of his confidence and maybe his all-round game, but actually what he was going through off of it. Now, everyone has their personal issues and athletes certainly do too, but it was really interesting because he talks of the first lockdown in the UK when football come to a stop. Obviously they brought it back with Project Restart, but during that period he was actually saying that he's considering stop playing football. He was considering packing it in. He's 28 years old and he was thinking, is this really what I want to do? And that's kind of really interesting because around the 2018 World Cup he was in Southgate's plans. He was a big part of the success England had at the tournament, and for Man United he was firing too in big Europa League games. And it really does show you that no matter who you are and how much you've achieved in your career, the level you're playing at, week in, week out, it can all be snatched away from you very quickly. And, you know, the last 2 years really at United, Jesse's struggled with game time, like I said. But this switch to the Hammers has reinvigorated him as a player. He's still his same bubbly self in the dressing room, but it's just good to see him back to his very best. Now, just mentioning the on-the-pitch issues in terms of his game time and not being able to force his hand with Ollie at Man United. Now pair that with personal issues at home, where Jesse Lingard's mum actually was, and I don't know if she still is, still battling her problems with depression. So she's got some mental health problems, and he took that weight on his shoulder. I think he's very close to his family. He's very open about that. So yeah, pair all that on the pitch stuff, and you know his livelihood as a football player, that's his job. But actually, his home life was really quite difficult, and I think they both kind of manifested themselves at the wrong time for him. Both joined forces and really worked against him. You know, he wasn't playing, so his confidence was shot to pieces, and then he's got issues at home as well. So I think he was a bit lost at his time at United at the end. When someone that close to you, you know, such as family or your loved ones, going through problems and maybe going through a difficult spell, I think it's like a human instinct really, to like a help mechanism really, that we reach out and kind of take some of it on board and take some of it on our own shoulders. And I think that's great, and that's empathy, that's emotion, that's knowing how to deal with people and help them through things. But you think of yourself, you actually suffer a little bit then, because you've suddenly got your problems that are going around in your life, and then they're not mounted on you from someone else. That's the wrong term, because we're all there to help each other. But you know, taking that on board when you are a professional athlete and your life is fast and furious anyway, you know, and that's not going so well, it must be quite difficult for them family problems to seep into your life. And that actually culminated in Jesse suffering with some of his own mental health problems. And you know, again, he's been really open and honest with that in interviews, and saying that he didn't want to play football. It's a dark place for him. So again, it's really good to hear a professional athlete speak so freely about the stigma of mental health. Personally, I think it's absolutely vital that high-profile athletes and celebrities in general really speak open and honestly about mental health and break down them barriers, because at the end of the day, they inspire millions of people, and a lot of young people, which is obviously the big talking point, especially young men maybe not seeking that help, not talking to friends or family in their hours of need, because they feel like they've got to bottle it up and man up, and that kind of attitude that comes with it, you know. And like I said, his reach is massive, you know, just for him to speak like that in a couple of interviews and, you know, let down the guard and just say it how it is, I think you can't put kind of a value on that, really. I think it's absolutely huge. But it also shows you the other side of being an athlete, that we think maybe as the average person, a fan, how could you be unhappy? You've got millions, you drive fast cars, live in lovely houses, but just because they've got all that, it doesn't mean they're happy. If anything, it can kind of go the other way and cause them more problems. It's not all sunshine and rainbows for football players. They're still human. They've still got emotions. You know, all the money, fame and silver in the world can't buy you happiness. You know, it's a very separate thing. And a lot of the time you have to make sure that you're in control of your life and that you're responsible for your sources of happiness and don't rely on others or external factors. And being an athlete in the world of football, that's what it's all about. You know, trophies, medals, silverware, winning. It's all external. It's all intangible. You know, them tangible sources of happiness, you know, memories with friends and family. You need to make sure you're controlling that yourself, because that's not going to come from anywhere else. And I think a lot of the time it's easy to get caught up in that and buy into this. Well, you've got everything you ever wanted, yeah, but it's not always that easy. You know, there's 11 people that start the match, but what about the subs? What about the people that get dropped? You know, in Lingard's case, couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. He was not in the plans. They bring Bruno Fernandes in, and suddenly you're going down and down the pecking order and getting yourself into a really, really dark place. But Jesse Lingard decided enough was enough. You know, he didn't want to just sit there and let his emotions and thoughts get the better of him and his head win the battle. He thought, I want to do something about it. And again, in a recent interview, he spoke that sometimes there'd be like an 8 o'clock kickoff. So United would be at the hotel the night before, and obviously the day of the game, and he'd be in his room until 4 p.m. of the game day. Curtains closed, you know, in the dark, just kind of sitting there with his own negative thoughts, really, his own demons. But then after consulting club doctors, and I think that's really important to reach out and seek that help, they spoke about little lifestyle changes, really, that are fundamental in getting better, in seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And they said, when you get out of bed, jump up, open the curtains. You know, it's just them tiny little changes that can really have a positive impact upon the rest of your day. Again, I think this demonstrates that working through the challenges that mental health brings with it isn't always about wholesale changes. It can be tiny little lifestyle adaptations or tweaks that really do make the difference. And that's coming from experience, you know, in the field of healthcare. So it just shows you that it's that change in mindset and attitude that really makes the difference. Starting your day off as you mean to go on. You know, if you wake up and stay in a dark room, it's never going to be a good day for you, is it? And the hours will tick by. But it's really interesting, again, someone that high profile with all the resources available. And that's the one bit of advice that he gives in the interview: to get out of bed, open up the curtains and start your day off right. No one can ever just tell you to feel better. Cheer up. Come on, you know, be happy. It's not that simple. You know, people can improve your mood, and being around people often does help that social aspect, but you need to want to do it yourself. You know, I think with most things in life, if you don't, I've touched already on the internal, intrinsic motivation to do things, you know. If all your motivation comes from external sources and people and outside things you can't control in the environment, then it's never going to work. You've got to really want to do it, you know, pull yourself out, want to get better, improve yourself, you know, not just wallow in your current situation, accept that it has to be that way. You can change it if you want to. And you can see firsthand just how happy and settled Lingard is at West Ham. You know, he's really friendly with people like Declan Rice and Pablo Fornals, and you know, he's found a new home here, and it's great because he's turned it around. He did it himself. You know, he could have easily just stayed at United and not mind picking up his wages each week, or like I said, he was on about retiring potentially, but he thought, no, I've got, you know, years left in me. I've still got things to give to the game. And it's just great to see him in a really settled environment where he feels wanted and appreciated. And look, he never lost any ability. I was early to criticise him in terms of what's happened to him. How can you be that good and fall off that massive? But shows you that stuff off the pitch is often not seen and it's not reported on, and it's huge. I've done videos on players coming to play in the Premier League and adapting to the new life and missing partners over in their home country, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. So it really does show you that it's not talked about enough, you know, it's not really reported on, but it's fundamental. It's half, if not more, of a player's ability to perform, because, you know, they're at the training ground for 4 or 5 hours a day. You know, what about the rest? So, and then you think with the news that the Euro squads, the upcoming tournament in the summer, the squad for each team, they've been allocated 26 players now instead of the 23. So if Lingard wasn't in Southgate's plans before, I think he's definitely in there now if he wasn't already. You know, 26 players, you think he probably forces his way in. And that would just be a great achievement for him, and I think a good example to a lot of young players and a lot of fellow professionals, really, that it's a testament to your character. You know, you can bring about change, you can alter the way you think, and you can change the outcome of your season. You know, he's really turned it around, and like I said, it just shows you the kind of person Jesse Lingard is. But that is going to be all for today's video. How would you rate Jesse Lingard's turnaround this season? Would he potentially get into your thinking for a Player of the Season nomination? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and please do offer any advice on future videos or what you'd like to see appear on the channel. I do always appreciate looking at your comments and taking your recommendations on board. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Been crying so much to the poltergeist, trying to hold on to love, but it's frosted.